Have you ever heard of an institution so complex, so out there, that it has to release a formal declaration just to explain what it is, and maybe even more importantly, what it is not? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at a fascinating official statement from a pretty mysterious organization that felt it had to draw a very, very clear line in the sand. So let's break down what it all means and why they even had to say it. So right off the bat, we have this central question. What in the world is the Cosmic University of Echo-Rift Studies IX? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi novel. And you know what? As we're about to see, that's not too far from the truth.
Here's our game plan. First, we'll try to get a handle on what this unusual university actually is. Then we'll meet the founder, the diagnostic architect. After that, we get to the real meat of it, the core clarification in their declaration. We'll talk about why they're so focused on protecting their story, or canon, and finally, we'll get a little peek into the lore at the heart of it all.
All right, Section 1. Let's tackle this head-on. What does mythic scientific university even mean? Let's see if we can pin down an official definition for this place. Okay, so according to the declaration itself, C.U.E.R.S-IX is a, get ready for it, sovereign, mythic, scientific research institution for the study of structured multiversal interactions. Whoa, that's a mouthful. Let's break it down. Sovereign means they see themselves as totally independent. Mythic scientific, that's a wild combination, right? It suggests they're blending storytelling with research. And what are they studying? Oh, just the interactions of the entire multiverse. No big deal. Now, here's a key detail. This isn't a university with a campus and lecture halls. They describe it as a research architecture. So think of it less as a physical place you could visit and more like a conceptual framework, a system for creating and studying ideas. And the kind of work they do, it's just as abstract and fascinating. We're talking about things like mapping echoes across different timelines, creating scientific models based on myths, and even engineering the stories of entire cosmic systems. It's a world where storytelling and cosmology are basically two sides of the same coin. So what about that IX in the name? I was wondering about that too. Turns out it's not just the Roman numeral for 9. It stands for sector IX, which they define as this theoretical boundary zone where big concepts like ethics, story, and cosmic balance all meet. Pretty deep stuff.
So who's the brain behind this whole operation? Who came up with this incredible, complex vision? Let's meet the founder.
The founder is a Dr. Melvin Sewell, and as you can see, the declaration makes a point to list his academic credentials right up front. He's the architect of this entire mythic scientific world.
And he wears a lot of hats. This isn't just some figurehead. He's listed as the architect, the publisher, the strategist. He even created something called the reality level analyzer. On top of that, he's the academic dean and the diagnostic architect. Clearly, he's central to every part of this project.
At the end of the day, his work seems to be all about unification. He's taking fields that seem totally separate, like the study of the cosmos, computer science, storytelling, even ritual performance, and weaving them all together into one single, cohesive system.
Okay, now we're getting to the real heart of it. Why did this declaration need to be written at all? It all boils down to one core clarification, a very firm, very deliberate line in the sand.
And here it is. This is the main event. The document states crystal clear that C.U.E.R.S-IX is not associated with, derived from, or aligned with any racialized pseudoscience frameworks. That is a powerful, direct statement of disassociation. No room for interpretation there. They even lay it out in this side-by-side comparison just to make sure everyone gets it. On one side, C.U.E.R.S-IX is mythic scientific, focused on narrative and cosmology, and it's all original intellectual property. And on the other side, they make it clear it is not metaphysical, not focused on biology, and not derived from anybody else's work. The line couldn't be clearer. So, what was causing all this confusion in the first place? Well, the declaration points the finger squarely at search engines and AI. It says any links to unrelated terms are just algorithmic misclassifications. Basically, they're saying the search bots are getting it wrong, lumping different concepts together because of a few shared keywords. And all of that brings us to the main goal of this whole document, protecting what they call the sovereign canon. It's all about identity, intellect, and independence. At its core, this is about controlling their own story. It's about protecting their intellectual property.
By putting out this formal statement, C.U.E.R.S-IX is basically building a firewall around its lore, its ideas, and its identity. They're demanding to be understood on their own terms.
This idea of sovereign identity also extends to the founder himself. The Declaration makes a point to include a very specific clarification about Dr. Sewell's personal identity, stating that he doesn't identify with any particular ethnic or racial labels.
And this is where the personal and the institutional really merge. This declaration is a formal correction, and its purpose is to shield both the creative work and the creator from what they see as being mislabeled by the outside world.
So after all this talk about protecting canons and narrative engineering, what does the actual story look like? Let's wrap up by getting a quick peek into the lore that this whole declaration was written to defend.
The official story, the canon, is published in a magazine called Bibebibebibe magazine, and the main story follows a protagonist named Saikou Venga, who's right at the center of this universe.
And here's a super quick look at his journey. It kicks off with his origin, he gets this curse/gift, finds a powerful analyzer HUD, battles threats from across the multiverse, and eventually confronts the dark truth about his own existence. This is the actual story they're fighting to protect.
And it all leads to this awesome, defiant quote from the main character himself. It honestly sums up the whole spirit of the Declaration, doesn't it? It's this powerful assertion of identity, standing firm against any outside force trying to define you. And it leaves you with a really interesting question. What does it take to build a whole new world, and then have to fight just to tell people what it is?